this week on My Alaska Dream. I was debating on whether or not even to make this, but since we're just kind of documenting what we're doing, not every week is a perfect week. Hey, welcome back. So last week, as you know, the steering on the boat went out, so I'm headed to town to get the parts for this and get it all fixed, and then hopefully you'll see me again right back here on the island. Well, that didn't work out very well. So with that big storm, I think some water got in that little reserve fuel tank that the kicker's hooked up to, because I ran just fine for a few minutes. So I'm thinking I ran on good fuel until the float bowl ran out, and then the new fuel got in there and it just said nope. So luckily Craig and Millie were headed to town the same day. I talked to them already and said, hey, when are you guys going to town? And they said when they were going. I said, well, I'll leave a couple hours before you in case anything happens. So something happened. So luckily I drifted. I drifted until I hit about 60 foot of water, and then I dropped my anchor. So, and then they just hung out and waited for them to come pick me up. It worked out pretty good. So a big thank you to Craig and Millie.
Is in a stream. The ocean called for you. Yeah. All right. And me. Still, I'm in this game, but without my closest friend. It's leaving now. I waited here, but nothing came. So I close my eyes, 'cause you reflect in everything. It's shining through.
Alright, well, we got the boat all fixed up. The kicker's running. The kicker had water in it from me trying to start it because I was floating around. And we had that big windstorm and water got in that little auxiliary tank. So that's fixed. The shop fixed all the wiring. It was just all corroded. And so we're back on the water, back in business. Hello, everybody. We are back. I have my wife here with me. Got my trusty dog here with me. Unfortunately, we have to keep him on a leash because he's not supposed to do any strenuous activities for like 3 weeks. So he's leashed up, but me and my wife are collecting all this seaweed for next year's garden. By burying them stumps, we get a lot of extra dirt out of that. So we're going to pile all the dirt up, throw this seaweed in with the dirt, then just let it all set over winter. And then next year when we add more soil to our already existing beds and our new beds that we're going to make, we'll have hopefully rich soil. So let's get to collecting some seaweed. So when we get a good wind and tides, it seems to push up a bunch of seaweed. So we've got seaweed like this, and then we've got some long kelp. So oops, my kelp broke.
We got this. I don't even know what this is. It must be some sort of kelp also.
Yeah, hold on, let me film it.
I said this is a different kind of kelp I pulled up.
That's funky looking.
It is.
It's nice though.
It is nice.
So we're going to put all that on the dirt, and that should give us some really rich soil for next year's garden. So here in the southeast Alaska, we don't have any regulations that governs how much washed up kelp you can take. I know in some other states, my wife was saying that there may be a limit to like a bucket or so, but here we don't have any of those restrictions. And as you can see, this is all washed up stuff, so everything's on the up and up here. All right, so that's fake news. Actually, we called Fish and Game to double check because we wanted to give you guys real updated information, you know, and not feed you a bunch of BS. So Alaska does have regulations that cover seaweed and kelp. So it's not all of Alaska, but where we live, since we don't live on a roadway, we fall under subsistency type stuff. And so because we're putting it on our personal garden and not for commercial use, there's no limit for us to harvest seaweed. But if you live along the roadway, like in Juneau, Ketchikan, Cook Inlet, you have to just check with Fish and Game and see if the area that you live in, you're allowed to harvest seaweed, kelp, and stuff. So, but again, all the stuff's washed up on shore. It's all dead. So we are on the up and up. But if you live somewhere else in on the coast, but on a roadway, I would just double check to see what your allowance is, and if the spot that you're going to harvest is open or closed to take seaweed or kelp. All right, back to the video. All right, so we're here with the pile. We've got several piles. This is one of our smaller piles. Actually, there's two. There's some human manure stuff back there. That's just for our flower beds, and then we've got this pile of dirt that just came out of the ground. So we're going to dump this on this pile, and then later on throughout the year, we'll collect more seaweed and we'll dump it on the other piles that we have up top, where we've been digging the stumps out. All right, so for those of you that have been with the channel for a couple years, you will know that Uncle Hawka has a toe problem. So I've had an ingrown toe that I've got worked on twice, and it just came back. I started feeling pain in my toe, and then it started turning a little red. So I'm headed back into town.
Because we don't want another incident of, what was the toe incident of 2019?
Yeah, 2019, 2018.
I can't remember.
Anyways, the first time it happened, I got this super nasty infection, but the winds were really high and we couldn't get to town for like a whole week, so it got gnarly infected. But now it's just starting, and I'm wise enough now just to be like, I gotta go to town and get this taken care of. So I'm leaving them two here. Gunner's still on leash because he's can't run after any squirrels or anything. He's still limping around a little.
He's very depressed.
Yeah. So anyways, it's good for me because I'm gonna go in town and get our boat set up for some fishing, because I gotta put new line on the downriggers and get some more leads made up for trolling for the coho this year. So that's fine. So we'll get the cart loaded up, and I'll get to town, and then after the surgery or the removal, so here's the deal is I'll probably have to get my toenail removed, or the ingrown toenail removed, and then wait a couple weeks or a month, and then I'm gonna have to go in because I have a bone spur on my big toe, and that's what he says is making my toenail grow kind of crazy. And so he's gonna open it up and shave off the bone spur so my toenail will lay flat.
Army life, right?
It wasn't always like that. I blame the Army. I blame everything on the Army. All right, just got back from town. The little toenail removal was good, but I still have another appointment next Friday, so I guess I'll have to go back to town next week. But let's go up here and take a look and see what's been going on. It's Rocky. So we had to kind of halt everything because for the last week we've just been getting some major rain, and as you can see, the ground is just completely saturated. I didn't want to get the tractor out and just tear what we've been working on up. I just, turn it into a big muddy swamp. So we decided just to let it go for a little bit, let it dry up a little bit, and then we'll start working again. The other thing I did with this big puddle is I just kind of opened it up, so hopefully in a day this will start to drain out. And anyway, so that's what we're doing today. We're just kind of doing some odds and end jobs. Let's go down and check what my wife's doing down there in the with the chickens in the garden. We could try to what?
Double hoop it.
Well, we can.
Look.
They are so small. They are so small.
But maybe
Oh,
they're...
there's a little one right there.
Look, and there's one over here. Maybe they're not big tomatoes. Maybe they're... What are the small tomatoes called?
Cherry tomatoes?
Yeah, maybe they're cherry tomatoes. Right?
Right.
What are you doing?
We've got a tomato.
Oh, I don't know. I'm hoping that maybe in the next month we'll get some cabbage.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
We've got one little baby cauliflower growing in there. Hello, little baby. And then we got a baby broccoli growing. Hello, little baby broccoli. But every year's a learning experience.
It is.
And this is our second year, so.
Mm-hmm. But it's been a cold, hard year for...
It's been cold and wet this whole summer, so.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been, it hasn't been good for anything that isn't like lettuce and spinach.
Our lettuce and peas rocked.
And the peas have just blown up, but everything else is just kind of
But
went.
then they got all blown to the side because of the high wind.
The peas blew up and then the winds blew them over.
But I'm hoping these will eventually go to a head. I don't see why not. They're looking pretty good.
They do look pretty good. All right, so I was debating on whether or not even to make this, but since we're just kind of documenting what we're doing, not every week is a perfect week, so I figured we'd throw some of the bad weeks in here too. And we've just had two weeks of bad luck, I guess. Not even bad luck, but just things happen.
They say it happens in 3s, but it might have happened in 4 or 5s for us.
Maybe some 6s.
Maybe.
So, but the cool thing is that next week's video, we had a Patreon member come up to Juneau and we took him out fishing. So next week's video is going to be about Brian and us meeting him and taking him out fishing and hopefully catching some fish. You'll have to stay tuned and find out. All right, we'll see you next week.